So we will summarize the structure of To Be or Not to Be by Kurt Vonnegut. And in first things first, we want to identify our exposition. Now, the exposition is going to tell us that we are in a dystopia or a utopia because there is no old age, everyone's immortal, no poverty, no wars. All right, that's important. Then we meet our protagonist and give us our setting, the Chicago Lying-in Hospital. And then we also meet our painter who is painting a mural, which is very symbolic. We'll get to that. And that would be about, and then they sing the song. So here is where your exposition ends. All right, now let's summarize that. We can say the story opens at the Chicago lying in hospital in a futuristic America, in a futuristic American setting. The reader learns that there is no longer crime, poverty, or wars. Technology has also advanced so that people can now live forever. The story's protagonist, Edward Welling, is waiting for his wife to give birth to triplets. There is a painter creating a mural on the hospital wall. All right, now we'll get into our rising action. And we can say we meet Dr. Hitz. And well, we haven't met him yet. We know about him. All right. And we learn from the painter and an orderly's conversation that in this society, when people do not want to live anymore, they call a number and the Federal Bureau of Termination will end their life. So I'm going to say the painter has a conversation with an orderly that reveals how citizens can live forever in a can live forever without overpopulating the planet. The orderly tells the painter if he is miserable, he should call the Federal Bureau of Termination so he can have he can book an appointment for an assisted suicide. That is a big one. All right. Then we can add here a woman, Leora Duncan, who works for the government. We would call her a suicide hostess, a gas chamber hostess. Appears. How do we want to talk about her? Because she's important considering she is in the climax. So we have to talk about her. Wait, we'll think about this. So we can mention something about Leora Duncan, and then we definitely have to say Dr. Hitz. And they have this conversation about the law and how things work. Here we go. I might even say, oops, overpopulating. So I would say here, a woman who works for the who works as a gas chamber hostess, Leora Duncan, arrives to have her picture painted by the muralist. Dr. Hitz, Dr. Hitz we'll say she is greeted by Dr. Hitz, the man responsible, or the man, because I want to say responsible for the gas chambers, but in that case, it kind of makes it seem like it's a negative, and in the story, it's not. Um, the man will say the obstetrician responsible for, we can say, population control. She is greeted by Dr. Hitz, the obstetrician responsible for population control, and they have a conversation with Edward regarding the purpose of population laws. And then I could say Dr. Hitz says, you wouldn't really put a summary, I'm just adding it so you could see. This reveals Edward's predicament because he only has one volunteer from his family that is willing to die. All right. And now we can say the conversation gets a little more severe with Dr. Hitz becoming rather severe with Welling, towering over him, threatening what the world would be like before science stepped in. This is really like the height of your rising action because we're going to get here. So this is going to be, here we go, final thoughts from Dr. Hitz before he is killed. And of course, this isn't going to let me do this. It never wants me to. I want to highlight this. It's not letting me. All right, I'll figure it out. We'll put it in here. The conversation becomes more hostile with Dr. Hitz warning of the past when there was not enough food, water, or resources for Earth's population to thrive. And then, here we go. We're going to get to our final climax. And we will say the climax of the story takes place when Edward Welling takes out a revolver and shoots Leora, and Dr. Hitz takes out a revolver and shoots Leora with the intention of shooting Leora and Dr. Hitz. After murdering them both, Edward takes his own life. That's your climax. Now, the falling action is going to be the painter seeing the sight, pondering mournfully, and the resolution is his appointment with the gas chamber hostess. So you could say the painter surveys the scene of horror and climbs down from his ladder. We can say he has an epiphany. Well, we could. The painter pondered the mournful puzzle of life, demanding to be born, and once born, demanding to be fruitful, to multiply and live as long as possible, to do that on a very small planet that would have to last forever. We could say this was his epiphany, that he comes to the realization that it's the circle of life and it shouldn't be stressful. Like, should people have the option to live forever on a tiny planet? I don't know. He ponders the concept that humanity, how humanity wishes to live forever on a tiny planet while still birthing new people, something like this. Then we can say he decides it is all too much for him to continue. So then here he calls the number to an assisted suicide hostess. And his final one, we will say the painter books an appointment to end his life, and the hostess informs him that the planet thanks him. And that would be your structure of the story. And as you can see, the rising action is most definitely the longest one.